Network Television proudly presents the 1986 Goodwill Games from Moscow and from Madrid.
And with Marianne Laughlin, I welcome you back to Moscow for our prime time coverage of Goodwill Games 1986. Today, the biggest stories were both bad news for American athletes. The United States basketball team played a poor game and was upset by Argentina at the World Basketball Championships in Spain. The United States never could get untracked in a game that was filled with errors, was filled with missed free throws, and was filled with problems for the American basketball team. Early on, you can see the turnover out of the key. Argentina in the white uniforms, the United States in the blue trimmed in red and white. Argentina penetrated easily, then went to the perimeter. Everything they put up was falling. The Argentina team had come into the game expecting to lose by as many as 20 points, but they easily beat the Americans, and you'd thought that Argentina had won the World's Cup. They were very happy with their success today. The American basketball team remains in the running for the gold. However, in water polo, the much-anticipated showdown between the U.S. and the Soviet Union turned into a blowout. The Soviets swam away with a 10-5, silencing all speculation about who is the better team. The Soviet goalkeeper with a great save. Watch the movement of the ball to the strong side, all the way across the pool, the shot and a score. And water polo belongs in the hands of the Soviet Union. 10-5 in the gold medal game today. The United States comes away with the silver. That was water polo today in our coverage of the Goodwill Games. And Marianne Laughlin, we have a prime time program full of more interesting sports.
It is a prime program tonight, Bob. Tonight we are right in the thick of our coverage of these Goodwill Games. We'll be seeing action in 5 sports from locations all over Moscow. We'll have the start of gymnastics and competition in the team finals. Also, men's 10-meter platform diving, basketball from Spain, more red-hot action from the boxing arena, and medal round wrestling. And there are some sports that even though the 2 U.S. defeats tonight, you know, were tough, there is some action worth watching tonight, so we'll keep an eye on it for everybody.
We're going to be watching the U.S. efforts in the men's platform diving. Dan Watson leads a very strong U.S. men's team into the diving competition, but the Soviet Union, China also teams to watch. We'll begin with diving at the Olympic Pool Complex right after this. The Soviet Union dominated the women's 10-meter platform diving competition. The American men are in now, along with the Chinese men and some other countries, too, trying to see what they can do with another very strong Soviet team. Kent Ferguson, Dan Watson, the American hopefuls. Let's go now to the Olympic sports diving pool, and let's join Craig Sager and Jennifer Chandler.
Forget it. Diving traces its history as far back as mankind's beginning. Natives who turned over to enter the water head first were doing what came natural to them. The daring ones who twisted as well as somersaulted were setting the tone for the dives of the modern era. And in today's 10-meter platform, you're going to see the best in the world perform dives that a few years ago were unheard of.
That's right. The men's platform contest centers on the battle between the Americans, the Chinese, and the Soviet Union. Americans Dan Watson and Kent Ferguson will definitely hold their own today, but it's going to go down to the last dive, and it's going to be the diver who's most consistent and gets the best entries.
After the first 4 rounds of the required dives, the standings are very close. Just 13 points separating the top 4. This is Craig William Rogerson from Australia, currently in 5th place.
He just did a forward 3.5 somersault pike and went way past vertical, so he's not going to get the scores he would have liked to have gotten. The first 4 rounds were really exceptional. The optional rounds really start to separate the scores out. He did a nice tight pike here. He lines up, and his legs continue to rotate past vertical. He throws too much water.
In a men's platform competition, they do 4 required dives and then 6 voluntary dives. The first 4 dives have a degree of difficulty that cannot exceed a total of 7.6. But in these last 6, there is no limit on the degree of difficulty, and we're going to see some great dives.
Yes, we are. Gao Feng is doing an inward 2.5 somersault pike. He's going to bring his arms up over his head, throw them toward the tower, and rotate 2.5 times toward the tower.
Gao Feng is 20 years old from China. He's currently in 2nd place.
He's very tall for a diver, actually. He backed off a little bit from the tower, but that was a very nice dive. He went in without throwing any water on the entry, and that's what the divers are looking to do. The judges are looking for jump from the tower, or how high they're going, execution, which strength, grace, and control add to, and the entry. You don't want to throw any water when you go in the water, and you want to go straight in.
Gennady Starodubtsev from the Soviet Union, the leader after the first 4 rounds.
He's doing an arm stand cut through reverse 1.5. Gennady is the current 86 national champion for the Soviet Union. He's been diving very well. He was second in the USSR dual meet we had recently. Whoa, that's a nice dive.
What a difference in the amount of water that they took.
Oh, yeah. When he went into the water, he didn't throw hardly any water at all. It was a beautiful entry. Got great scores. He kicks back, somersaults back through the tower, towards the tower, and he lines up right there, goes perfectly straight in. Fabulous entry.
And that is why he is our current leader.
You see, they're standing in the shower after each dive. It's very cold in this big room where the pool is, and that's warm water. Keeps the divers loose, keeps their muscles warm, keeps them relaxed.
Sergei Gurylev of the Soviet Union, currently in 7th place after the first 4.
Forward 3.5 somersaults pike. Whoa! Oh, I love to see these entries like this. The entries really are the last things the judges see, and it's so important to do a good entry. He was a little bit short of vertical, but he didn't throw hardly any water at all. When he starts the somersault here, he's in a nice tight pike. He comes around and looks at the water, has plenty of time to line up, just creams it.
What are they judging besides the entry?
They're judging the height from the tower, how high the jump is. They're judging the execution with strength, grace, and control. And they're judging the entry. You don't want to throw any water. You want to go straight in. And on these optional rounds, the higher you are when you finish the somersault, the better.
John Nash from Canada.
That was a nice top. The top part of the dive, the execution part of the dive was very nice, but it was a little bit past vertical. He could not stop it on the end. Aren't those steps great? You don't have to do full with the ladder. You just sort of swim out of the pool.
And after that, there's an elevator to take you to the top of the platform.
Yeah. He looks at the water. When he lines up, he just can't stop the rotation.
John Nash currently in 8th place after the first 4 rounds.
Well, there's 10 rounds, and the standings after the 5th round really are just a way to, you hope to be set up by the 5th round, let's put it that way. And watch this arm stand.
This is Li Dulian from China.
He split raises, split press. Pretty awesome.
He'll be doing the same dive we saw Gennady Starodubtsev, the leader, do a few moments ago.
Oh, that was a miss for Li Dulian. Somersault was too slow. He ended up short of vertical. He just couldn't get around. See how the Chinese bow after every dive. They come around and they take a bow to the crowd. It's a custom they've had ever since the first time they started diving internationally. See? Too short of vertical. Just couldn't get his legs up.
6s, 6.5 from the judges for Li Dulian, currently in 6th place during the 4th round. And he shakes his head no. He knows he could have done better.
See, he looks cold, too.
Dan Watson from Ashland, Kentucky, a graduate of Harvard University.
In biology, he's going to be going to med school this fall. Dan's doing the same dive, an arm stand cut through, reverse somersault. And it's actually a real nice place to be, following someone who's just done the same dive, because if you do it better, oh, get up. The judges have
He's having trouble getting to his arm stand. Will the judges take off for that?
No, as long as he holds it for 3 seconds. You have to hold your arm stand for 3 seconds.
And he did. He came out of that beautifully.
Oh, man, it's great because he had such a hard time getting up in the arm stand. He looked like he was going to come back down. Once you start to press up into the arm stand, if your toes come back down and touch the tower, it's declared a balk. Cuts through, nice tight tuck, looks at the water right there, lines up, straight in, just poof. That's the way you want to do it.
Most of these divers practice outdoors. Trying to do those arm stands in the wind must be very difficult.
It is very difficult. It's also pretty scary stuff.
Doing an arm stand anywhere is tough, but doing it on a 10-meter platform 33 feet up above the ground.
I can barely do an arm stand against a wall.
Earlier you talked about a guy who's pretty tall for a diver. This is
Right.
Detlef Hurt, 6'3", the tallest diver I've ever heard of.
Mm-hmm. It's real difficult when you have long legs to do some of the somersaulting dives, multiple somersaulting dives in the pike position. Oh.
He's going to try a double somersault here off this arm stand. He's from West Germany.
His feet are going to fall to the right, and he's going to somersault 2 times and go in head first.
Boy, look at
Little kip action right there. Looks at the water, lines up. Nice clean entry, not a rip entry, but it was a little bit past vertical, so probably goes 6.5, 7. Woo! They're going a little high today.
He started diving when he was very young and then probably grew a lot more than he had planned or his coaches had planned, but he is so talented that he stays with it.
Mm-hmm.
If he knew he was going to be 6'3", probably been playing basketball.
Exactly.
Kent Ferguson, the United States, is 5'11", 160 pounds. He's a graduate of the University of Michigan, psychology major.
I think that's kind of nice to be a psych major if you're in a sport like diving, because 90% mental once you get into competition.
He was a silver medal winner in the springboard competition. Should give him confidence for this.
Oh, what a great top. His jump from the tower was excellent. He was moving the dive very well in the air, but he couldn't control the end. He went a little past vertical. He's looking pretty pumped up. That's a good sign, though. Look at what a nice tight pike he is. When he reaches back to line up, he just can't stop the rotation, goes a little bit past vertical. But the scores aren't bad, 7, 7.5.
That concludes our 5th round. The leader is Gennady Starodubtsev of the Soviet Union, followed very closely by Gao Feng of China and the 2 Americans, Dan Watson and Kent Ferguson. We'll be back later with the final rounds of the men's platform competition from the Olympic Sports Center.
Well, we'll be going back to the diving competition in just a few minutes. I want to remind you that a little later we'll have another men's basketball game coming your way. Argentina upset the United States men. U.S. still in the gold medal chase for the World Championships, but tonight we'll be covering Canada and Italy. Both of those teams are involved in the U.S. chances, so stay with that. We'll have it a little bit later. We've been talking, Marianne, as we talk about all the Goodwill games, about Moscow and the sights and the sounds, and Stu Laurie, who's been here a long time as a CNN correspondent, knows a lot about the government and the history of it. Richard Blystone, CNN's London correspondent, is kind of seeing it with the open eyes of somebody who hadn't been here before.
Exactly, and it's Sunday here in Moscow, and what do you do on a Sunday morning? You sit back, you read your New York Times, you have your breakfast, and maybe you go shopping. That's what I always do. Just off Moscow's Red Square is an attraction that is to the world of consumers what the Kremlin is to the world of power. It's called GUM. It is the largest department store in the city. It's roofed in glass and run by the state. Richard Blystone went window shopping.
This is Moscow's answer to Macy's. Enclosed for winter comfort, 1.5 miles of shops and booths, the consumer capital of the USSR. Here, if it's in stock, you can get anything from a headscarf to a fur coat to an alarm clock to a phonograph record, including one old favorite from far away, Bing Crosby.
They wander over yonder till I see the mountain rise.
350,000 people visit GUM every day from all over this vast country.
Издалека, с Крыма, с Симферополя.
This father and son came all the way from Sevastopol on the Black Sea, something like from New York to Chicago, on a once-a-year trip to buy clothes. They have clothes in Sevastopol too, but here at GUM you get the latest fashions, like these jeans made in Denmark for the equivalent of $140 a pair. One of the things this seems to prove about the Soviet Union is that there are Soviets with $140 to spend on jeans. Most of the goods on sale here are made in the communist bloc.
Your clothes look very fashionable. Did you buy them here? No, I made them myself.
Oh, well, that's one way of beating the crowds. There's not a lot of impulse buying here. The system gives you plenty of time to think over your purchases. These people are stocking up on stockings for about 3 times what you'd pay in an American supermarket while they last. The crowd overflowing this shoe shop might make you think seriously about going barefoot. But lines are part of life here, and people seem resigned to them.
Do you always stand in line here? Well, yes, of course, a little bit. How long? Probably at least an hour, if something really catches your eye.
Besides supply, Soviet shoppers have long complained about the quality and style of what they're offered. But a lot of people say that things are looking up.
Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev has promised to double the resources allocated to consumer goods by the end of the century. Whether or not he can pull it off, who knows? But it sure is what the Russian people want to hear. For the Goodwill Games, I'm Richard Blackstone.
Most marvelous place to go shop. Just to see the building itself is amazing.
I had one trip through there, but I'm so scared about being lost in the subway. I haven't been back since we began our coverage of the Goodwill Games. We now are in our 9th day of coverage of these inaugural games. Quickly recapping some of the highlights. We've seen the Killer Bees, or the B team from America, swim to fame in the wake of Angel Myers. And Vladimir Salnikov obliterated his world record in the 800-meter, only to be upset by an American teenager, Sean Killian, in the 400. We saw Moscow on the heels of an Ethiopian marathoner as we listened to Kurt Gowdy describe the race of Belaine Densimo, who took the lead early and never looked back. In all, over 24 countries have won medals thus far, including Sergei Bubka, the Soviet pole vaulter, who bettered his own world record, and Portugal's Domingos Castro, strutting across the line in the 10,000 meters. There's been very much to marvel at so far, and of course, much remains as we continue our coverage of no less than 10 different sports today on the Goodwill Games. We're going to go back to the Olympic sports diving pool in just a moment with Craig Sager and Jennifer Chandler, but first, let's take this time out. Stay with us.
As we move into the 8th round, you're looking at Gao Feng from China, a forward 3.5 in the pike position.
That was an absolutely beautiful dive. He just ripped it on the end. There wasn't any water thrown at all. He had a nice top. Execution of the dive was nice. 8s don't hurt. Round 8, you're looking for 8.
Leader, Gennady Starodubtsev of the Soviet Union.
He's doing a reverse 3.5 somersaults tuck. Degree difficulty 3.4. The highest degree difficulty is 3.5. So, figure that.
This is the toughest dive we'll see today.
Every time he does a somersault, he sees the water. So, in order to know where he is to kick out, water, 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 kick. Oh, wow!
He missed it.
I guess he did. He didn't
Lost
have
his trunks, too.
He didn't have any somersault going at all.
Now, he has the toughest list of dives to do, so he can get 7s on a dive, whereas other people have to get 8s because their degree of difficulty isn't as high.
When he swings his arms up, he jumped too far away from the tower. He never had enough time to complete the dive. When you're spinning back toward the tower, it's very important to stand it up, jump up over the tower, not move out too far.
For an experienced, consistently good diver like Gennady Starodubtsev, that's quite a surprise, that dive we just saw.
That's a lack of concentration.
His teammate Sergei Gurylev has a chance now to move into first place, doing an arm stand into a double somersault.
The Soviet team has a beautiful style doing arm stands. They press up, and it looks so effortless. Look at the line he's in right now, how perfectly straight that is. That's one reason it's easy to get a rip into. You
Very
start
nice.
off in a straight line like that on the tower. If you end up like that on the bottom, you're going to get great scores. That was really a nice dive.
Sergei Gurylev of the Soviet Union with an excellent dive here in the 8th round.
And he brings his feet back to his hands, kips around, looks at the water right there as he lets go, lines up, just whoosh, nothing. That's great. Putting the pressure on the American team, that's for sure.
7.5 and 8.
Li
Dulian from China.
Nice dive. A little bit past vertical, but it was a nice dive. The Chinese have a really hard problem to work with. Their main mistakes tend to be the fact that they go too high and they spin too fast. You have a hard time controlling the entry. I mean, that's not really a hard thing to deal with. I mean, it is a hard thing to deal with, but it's not a bad mistake to have. Julian's nickname is Smiley. He's not looking too happy right now, though.
He was in 5th place before that dive. Dan Watson of the United States in 3rd place, doing a reverse 2.5 in the tuck position.
This is a clutch dive for Dan right now. I asked Dan if he was having a good time here. He said, yeah, but I've got to get on to something a little better than Pepsi, ice cream, and hard rolls. He said the first thing he's going to do in the Frankfurt airport is hit McDonald's, and he's going to eat a pizza as soon as he hits the U.S. ground. Woo! Nice dive. It was a little bit past vertical, but that was a good dive for Dan.
Very consistent dive.
He doesn't like it much. That's really a nice bread. See? That's really a bread and butter dive for him. He can get 9s and 10s on that when he's really hot.
Kent Ferguson of the United States doing an arm stand into a double somersault.
Arm stand cut through reverse somersault. See the difference in the arm stands between the Americans? Ooh, I get nervous watching these. Between the American team and the Soviet team. The Soviets press up. Kent split kicks up. Feet coming through, looking at the water kick out. Oh, no. He left that too short of vertical. Whoa. See, when you don't go to the bottom, it's hard to get to the top. You want to line up straight so you can get a good push off the bottom. He drowned in this pool. And he kicked out. He let go a little too soon. His feet were too low. He should have kicked his feet up towards the ceiling when he went to line up the dive. Well, Kent's going to need a couple good dives after this round. But he's grinning. He's a pretty relaxed, good competitor. Kent's a really great guy. He's NCAA champion. He hopes to go to dental school. Maybe that's why he's a good grinner.
That concludes our 8th round. The leader now is Sergei Gurylev of the Soviet Union. Gao Feng from China is in 2nd place. Dan Watson of the United States is in 3rd. Kent Ferguson is in 6th. Leading off the 9th round is Gao Feng from China, who has moved into 2nd place. He's going to be doing a back 3.5 in the tuck position.
He left that dive a little bit short of vertical. Not enough somersault to complete 3.5 somersaults. That's a big dive. Now, divers have usually, a lot of times they have a gymnastics background or a dance background, and for a tower diver, a gymnastic background is better. Dancers make better springboard divers. I think throughout the competition, his teammate, Gennady, has pushed him. It's kind of nice for Sergei to follow his teammate. The pressure's on him right now. Well, he certainly rises to the occasion, I would say. Finished the in-between and somersaults is a very difficult dive to do. He finished high above the water and just absolutely drilled the entry. 9.5. What a great dive. Watch how tight his tuck is in. He's finishing the dive at 5 meters right there. Let's go, lines up. Boom. Can't ask for much more than that.
To the highest scores we've seen so far today for our leader, Sergei Gurylev.
It's going to put a lot of pressure on Dan. Dan was only 5 points behind Sergei going into this round. He kind of likes that.
Li Dulian from China currently in 5th place, doing a back 2.5 in the pike position. Li is 18 years old.
He doesn't have much problem. What a jump! Oh, no. He went a little bit past vertical, and he actually had a little twist on the end. But that is an absolutely incredible jump. The Chinese watch how high he is. Look at how high he is. He's completing 1.5 somersaults by the time he comes past the 10-meter. He has to let his feet go, pointing at the water. He reaches back for the water, can't stop the somersault, goes a little bit past vertical. 6.5, 7 is not enough for him.
They're jumping so high, but yet they're not being able to line up by the time they get down below. Why?
They have so much time. They have so much time to do it before they actually hit the water that it's hard to control sometimes. It's hard to stop somersault action.
Dan Watson of the United States, just 5 points behind the leader going into this round. But as we saw earlier, a tremendous dive for Sergei Gurylev.
Dan's doing an inward 3.5 somersaults tuck, spinning toward the tower 3.5 times. Ooh, it looks to me like he almost slipped off the tower. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see it when he comes back. But he didn't have enough somersault going on that side. He had to split his tuck and ended up short of vertical. He's not happy. He can't see his feet. See, when he pulls his knees apart, he had to do that because he didn't have enough somersaults. It makes it easier to complete the somersaults if you split your knees. Ended up a little short of vertical.
But Dan remains very much in contention for a medal. Kent Ferguson from the United States in 6th place. He won the silver medal in the springboard competition, doing a forward 3.5.
In the pike position. Woo! Nice dive. Oops, I'm clapping. He's a little bit short of vertical, but he did a good job with that. Kent's a little bit scared of that dive, but it's a good dive for him. He can do it even a little bit better than that. He throws his arms down to start the somersault, pulls in a nice tight pike. Let's go maybe a little early. He didn't finish it as high as I think he can. A little short of vertical. Kent doesn't have as high a degree of difficulty as some of the other divers in the contest, so he's forced to really go for 8 the entire contest.
That concludes the 9th round. Just one dive remaining for our competitors. The leader is Sergei Gurylev from the Soviet Union. But moving into 2nd place, Dan Watson of the United States. Gao Feng of China is in 3rd, and Kent Ferguson is in 6th. We'll be back in a few moments with a final round from the Olympic Sports Center.
The Soviet rail network is the largest and most heavily used in the world.
Tenth and final round of the men's 10-meter platform competition from the Olympic Sports Center. Sergei Gurylev of the Soviet Union is the leader, but in 2nd place is Dan Watson of the United States. Currently in 3rd place is Gao Feng from China. And Gao Chung is going to be leading off this 10th and final round, doing an arm stand with a double somersault.
Gao has a nice arm stand. Split kick up. Looks like he had a little trouble there almost.
Degree of difficulty is just 2.4.
Yep. It's interesting he's not doing a more difficult dive on the last dive, but whoa, would you do it like that? Who cares? That's why he's doing it like that. That's beautiful. I mean, beautiful entry, don't you think?
Definitely.
Now he lets his head go, kips off, looks at the water, lines up plenty of time. He's just sailing around up there having fun. That was beautiful.
From China with good scores from all 7 of our judges. Gennady Starodubtsev of the Soviet Union in 5th place. He was our leader throughout most of the competition, but he is now in 5th place.
Well, he's doing an inward 3.5 somersaults tuck, degree difficulty 3.2. So if he can hang tight through this, he's got enough degree difficulty to make those points up, at least get in medal contention. Woohoo! Nice dive! That's going to put him in medal contention, no problem, I think.
The standings are very, very close.
That's absolutely beautiful. He finishes the dive pretty high. He lets go. He didn't have the time to really stretch out all the way. 7.5 and 8. If he'd had to finish that dive a little bit higher, he would have gotten 8 to 9.
The Soviet divers are an excellent group of, competitors. What a team they have.
They really help each other out, too. They're a great group of kids.
Soviet women.
That. I can say kids because I'm 27 now.
Soviet women went 1-2 in this event. Michelle Mitchell of the United States took the bronze. Sergei Gurylev, the leader, doing a back 3.5 in the tuck position, 3.3 degree of difficulty.
I'm surprised he's doing this dive last. This is a very difficult dive to hit. Jump. Ooh, I don't know. He had a great jump. He had a good top going, but when he kicked down, he bent his knee. He ended up short of vertical and arching in, so he shouldn't get higher than 7. He shouldn't, really. When he kicks out, see him bend his legs and arch back through. Now that really opens the door for Dan. Dan is sitting in the catbird seat again.
The scores ranging from a 5.5 up to a couple of 7s and even a 7.5 from his own judge from the Soviet Union.
That's interesting that he made a mistake like that on the last dive.
The suspense continues to build. Li Dulian of China in 4th place, doing a back 1.5 with 3.5 twists for his final dive. The degree of difficulty is 3.2. We have about 6 or 7 competitors all in the running for medals.
I like it coming down to the last round. Puts pressure on everybody and dives usually much better. Well, that was a little bit short of vertical, and he lost his legs a little bit in the middle. That sounds funny. He didn't lose his legs. He had them all along. His feet came apart. It was a little short of vertical, but it was a pretty nice dive. Right here, you'll watch his feet come apart. Just a little bit, right there.
And there's the scoring for one of the men in contention for a medal, Li Dulian. Dan Watson of the United States. His final dive is a back 1.5 with 3.5 twists. The degree of difficulty is 3.2. He is chasing the leader, Sergei Gurylev.
He's really in a good position right now to go charging right past Gurylev. Concentration. He knows where he's at. Nice jump. Oh! That was a very nice dive. It was a little bit slow. He didn't complete his somersault real high from the water, but he did a great job getting it down. Real nice entry. Swings out, arms across the chest to start the twist, out to the side to stop it. Looks at the water right there, grabs his hands, lines up for a typical Dan Watson rip.
And that should be good enough for a medal for Dan Watson.
Some color, anywho.
Our final competitor is Kent Ferguson of the United States, the silver medal winner from the United States in the springboard, currently in 6th place, trying to nail his final dive, a back 1.5 with 3.5 twists.
This is Kent's favorite dive. He loves twisters. He's dived very consistently today. Not too flashy. Hadn't had a lot of pizzazz, but he's been very consistent. Well, that's a nice way to finish. It was a little bit past vertical, but that was a nice dive for Kent. He swings his arms up, right there, across his chest, 3.5 times. That's a long way to be twisted. Grabs his hands on the end, goes a little bit past vertical. That tape is not because of an injury. Divers tape their wrists for support for the entries. He's had some fun anyway. The tape is for support, and it's sort of a preventative type thing.
And that concludes our competition. The gold medal goes to Sergei Gurylev of the Soviet Union. Dan Watson of the United States wins the silver. The bronze medal goes to Gao Feng from China. But Dan Watson of the United States, the silver medalist, and he is talking with Jennifer Chandler.
Dan, you had 27 points to make up going into the last round. What was going through your mind?
Well, the Russian was going first, and it was all pretty much on his shoulders. He had a more difficult dive than I had, and I had my best dive last, and I knew I could make it up if he missed, but I guess it came down, I needed 92 points on my last dive, which was pretty much straight 10s. So I had a shot, but...
Do you think the Soviets have had a home court advantage?
I don't know necessarily home court advantage. They dove 5 people in the event, and even though 3 of them were exhibition, I think that helped a lot, and they did have a little crowd support, but I think it was overall pretty fair.
What are your overall impressions of the Goodwill Games? Have you had a good time?
Yeah, I think it's been great. Met a lot of people, had a lot of fun, seen a lot, and got a lot of diving experience, and it was fun.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you get home?
Eat some pizza.
All right. All right. Good luck to you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenny.
Silver medalist Dan Watson of the United States. Whether you communicate in English, Russian, or sign language, there are traits that are universal everywhere. And we close our diving competition with a message of goodwill, a thank you from the American team.
Спасибо, Москва! Спасибо, Москва! Спасибо, Москва!
Well, I'm becoming a major Russian-English translator in words like thank you, hello, goodbye, things of that nature. The U.S. diving team you heard right at the close of that segment was saying Spasiba, Moskva, meaning thank you, Moscow. Thank you for the competition, and I'm sure Dan Watson was saying thank you for the silver medal that he won tonight. The Soviet diver won the gold in that competition. I want to remind you that today the United States was upset in men's world basketball by Argentina, 74-70. The United States is going to be playing in round 2 tomorrow, Canada in Oviedo, and tonight we are bringing you a game of critical importance from the Men's World Basketball Championships in Spain. After the first round of play, the tournament has come down to 2 groups of 6 teams. The A group is playing in the town of Oviedo. The A group is made up of the USA, Italy, China, Yugoslavia, Canada, and Argentina. Today, the U.S. team, which had an unspoiled 5-0 record going into the second round, was upset by Argentina, as I told you. That means tonight's showdown between Canada and Italy becomes important, not only to the Group A standings, but to the U.S. team as well. And, of course, we'll keep you informed of all the developments of Spain in the second round of that tournament. Right now, though, let's pick up action in the second half of this critical matchup between Canada and Italy. They ended the first half tied 43-all. Bill Russell, Rick Barry, Bobby Knight are in Oviedo, Spain.
Ready to start the second half here from Oviedo Sports Palace. Let's take a look at the halftime statistics. The Canadian team shooting only 44%. They were shooting 50 prior to coming into this contest. 2 for 7 from three-point range. They're 15 for 18 from the free throw line. That's what they shot coming in. That's good free throw shooting. The Italian team, 45% was their normal average. They're up to 48.6, so that's helped keep them in the ball game. Rebounds, 16 to 18 in favor of Canada. 43-43. Maserati is starting the second half now for the Italian team. He had come off the bench in the first half. From the baseline, good shot on the part of Villata, giving Italy the lead by 2. Costa, the player who was injured in the first half, definitely had a dislocated shoulder. He's got his arm in a sling, will not be seeing any further action for tonight's ball game for certain. Wilger for Canada. Off balance, just kind of threw that one up there, Bill.
He was in a hurry because he thought maybe they were going to call 3 seconds, Rick. That was just trying to get rid of the ball, I believe.
Maserati kicks it back outside for the three-point try. No good by Riva. And Wilger with another rebound for Canada.
Got a good outlet pass.
Canada trying to pick up the pace a little bit. Triano kicks it to the sideline. That's Hatch. Rebound goes off to Policello for Italy. Italy's biggest lead of the game was 4 points. That happened on 2 occasions in the first half. The biggest lead for Canada has been 6. We have 18:45 left to play in this game. Italy now leading by 2. Policello and Wilger with the rebound again.
And another good outlet pass.
Triano pulls up from 15, and Triano gets the bounce and ties it at 45 in the 18:29 mark. Triano with 9 for the Canadian Ball Club.
And we're all tied up again, Rick.
We've had several ties.
The Italian team is hanging in there because they are playing a team I think is a better team.
Taken away, Wilger from, as Riva made the move to the basket. Good defense by Wilger.
Oh, he takes steps.
Traveling against Hatch.
If he'd taken big ones, it'd have been okay, but he took a lot of little ones. And the referee's frowning on you taking small ones.
We played 2 minutes here in the second half. Each team has scored a basket. We were tied at 43. Now we're tied at 45. Good ball movement by Italy. And the pass not handled by Policello. It'll go over to Canada.
Hit him in a bad place. Right on the hands.
Been a rather slow-paced game. Neither team really getting a lot of fast break opportunities. 8 points off the breaks for Italy and 10 for Canada. Shot from the outside does not drop for Hatch. Back come the Italians. And that time it drops from the outside from Villalta.
If the folks are wondering where Bobby is, the lines are very long here, Rick.
3 against 2. Maserati kicks it over to Villalta, who pops in yet another one. 7 now for Renato Villalta. 4-point lead for Italy, matching their biggest lead of the ball game. On the deck goes Pasquale, no foul. Wilger to Triano from 18. He was drifting that time. Tough way to shoot the ball. Rebound pulled down by Policello. Maserati kicks it out to Riva.
Rick, You know, when we were doing the women's basketball in Russia, I thought you were really great with the names, but you've outdone yourself today.
He's a lot easier, Bill, believe me. A lot easier. Maserati, he's up against Pasquale. Seems so funny to say Pasquale on the Canadian team. There's the shot again by Villalta. Villalta has hit 3 straight shots. He has 9 points, and the turnover, well, actually knocked out of bounds by Maserati.
Wasn't it Berlata for the Brazilian team in the women's basketball? Wasn't it Berlata?
Bertolotti.
Yes.
Berlotti. 16:20 left here in the ball game. The biggest lead of the game being enjoyed by the Italian team now, 51-45. And it will be Canada's ball on the sideline. Into the game for Canada, Barry Munger has come in, number 12. That's Pasquale. That's Munger. Wilger. Nice pass to Hatch. Score the basket. Foul going against number 15, Sacchetti for the Italian team. Excellent ball movement. Here's you see the play again. A super pass by Wilger, and there's Hatch finishing it off. And there's the man who committed the foul. Romeo Sacchetti, 6'5", 32-year-old for the Italian team. And that's John Hatch, 6'6", 24-year-old for Canada. Cuts into a 3-point lead now for Italy. 16 minutes remaining in this ball game. Maserati. And Maserati again from the outside. Maserati with 6. As Bobby Knight pointed out, Maserati didn't even shoot against the Americans in the last game in the preliminary competition when the U.S. won big. There's a bad pass on the part of Pasquale. It goes over now to the Italian team, and wisely, we saw Hatch knock the ball away from Sacchetti so that he couldn't get that fast break opportunity going. .25 to play. Italy leading by 5. Their biggest lead of the game was 6. They lead by 3, however. 5, yes, 53-48. My mathematics was correct. First time. Policello with the ball against Wilger. Nice hook.
He gave a good head and shoulder to make sure he got it off, because Wilger can block that shot.
7-point lead, biggest lead of the game for Italy. 15 minutes to play. And what happened is exactly what we talked about, Bill. This Canadian team had a chance to put Italy away early in the game. They let them off the hook, and now they're the ones that are fighting for their life. And there's a good move by Triano. The foul against Riva. That's going to be his 3rd personal foul. And Triano with a chance to cut into that lead. It's at 5 now. There's the play again. Riva with the foul, number 12. He started off this ball game, if you just joined us watching, by scoring the first 10 points of the game for Italy, and then he cooled off a bit, but he did warm up later on and finished as the leading scorer for the Italian team with 22 points at the half.
There's one major difference between the way the Canadians are playing and the way the American team played there, Rick. The Canadians are making most of their free throws.
Well, that's for sure. The American team in that big upset to Argentina, 74-70, shot 47% from the free throw line and only 41% from the field goal line as the foul goes against Triano. So a very disappointing effort on the part of the American team against Argentina. However, they still are in contention for a gold medal, depending upon what happens down in Barcelona. Of course, Mike Fratello and Mel Proctor are standing by down there, covering the action taking place. And it all moves to Madrid after 3 games in these 2 different locales. Shot clock is at 20 as Maserati fires and hits for 2.
You might say he's clicking on all 12 cylinders.
Okay, I like it. I like it. 3-point try. Hatch, count it. Canada comes right back, trailing now by 3, 57-54. 13 points for Hatch.
I'm sorry, Rick. Maseratis only have 8 cylinders.
They only do?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. You know more about cars than I do. I'll take your word for that also. Nice cars, though, anyway, Bill.
Yes.
Foul. Villalta will go to the free throw line as he turns to make the move to the basket. Foul being called against Hatch for Canada. Here we'll see the play again. Hatch from behind is the one who joined the paratrooper club, paid the dues by landing on Valalta's back. I see that Bobby made it through the line now and is making his way back to it.
It was a long line.
That was a very long line.
I hope everything is all right.
I hope so, too. There's a long line over there, wasn't it, Bobby? Okay. 58 to 54 in favor of Italy. 13:55 left to play, and Bobby has rejoined us. And Bobby, we talked about it, the Italian team, after being let off the hook, have come back to put the pressure on Canada, and coming over with the block was Polostello, but he's also being called for the foul.
Well, that's essentially, I think the Italians and the Argentinians have played very much alike in these two games.
There's Polostello. To the free throw line, John Hatch.
The 24-year-old.
Very good, Bill. And you didn't even do that off of a piece of paper. The mind hasn't gone completely. I'm glad.
Well, I was listening to you, Rick.
And Hatch cuts into a three-point deficit for Canada. 13:40 remaining here in the ball game. Canadians in the zone defense. Riva. Shot clock down to 10 for Italy. That's Riva with the ball. Shot clock at 5. Three-pointer counted for Riva.
That's a good way to beat the clock.
Riva now with 25 points as he gets on the scoreboard here in the second half. 6-point lead for Italy, 61-55.
Good and bad, because you think you can do it all the time after you do it a couple of times. And you don't end up taking the best shot or the type of shots you should take.
Hatch to Pasquale. Wilger.
Good throw. After you heard the whistle. But most of the time in international basketball, you don't get that continuation call.
Polostello with the foul again. We'll see the play again. Wilger was open as he came across the lane. Makes the move back to the middle, and with the body foul is Polostello. And they say it is not a shooting foul, Bill, so they have it on the sideline.
They don't use their continuation move.
14 fouls against Italy, only 2 against the Canadian team. Wilger again. Draws heavy traffic, and you can't put it on the floor with 3 players around you as Maserati takes it away. A lot of big men, Bobby, have that bad habit, want to put it on the floor in the crowd.
We were talking about that in the first game, and it's almost a rarity when you find one that just makes the fake and goes to the bucket with it rather than putting it on the floor. And putting it on the floor really doesn't take him anywhere.
No, they just want to get it out of the hands just for a second and give us some time to think.
Rebound, three-pointer. Tipped out of bounds. They say last touch by Sacchetti, so it will be Canada's ball.
I always accuse them of wanting to see if the ball still bounces, Bill. And then I'll go over and I'll get a whole rack of balls, and I'll take every one of them and show them that each of the 12 balls will bounce. They don't have to try it.
But you see, Bobby, you accused him of doing something that's very difficult in those circumstances, thinking.
Pasquale, number 6 with the ball for Canada. The shot clock is down now to 12 seconds. Three-point try. Triano counted. He has 15. Back to a three-point lead for Italy, just inside of 12 minutes remaining to play. The game was tied 43-43 at the half. Biggest lead has been 7 for Italy in the second half, 6 for Canada early in the first half.
As I've watched Italy play in the last 4 or 5 years, I've always felt that they've played better against the zone than man-to-man, and that surprises me a little bit about Canada playing zone here in the second half.
That was Sacchetti with the basket to go back up to a 5-point lead. Pasquale on the drive will find his way to the free throw line. As the foul is called, let's see who it's against. There were 2 players there. Will it be Mazza? No, it's going to be called against Sacchetti, number 15.
Now, Bobby, that's a very interesting point, that you should be able to play a variety of defenses so that you can take advantage of another team's weakness. And that makes it a lot easier to play and takes less energy to play defense. And anything that can save you energy on defense is a plus.
Well, I agree with that, Bill. And I also think that there are some teams that that don't handle a zone well, but the Italians have never really been one, at least as I've watched them play, and I've seen them play probably 20 times now in the last 4 years. They handle the zone well. They get the ball to the shooters. They have good movement inside, and against a man-to-man, they're sometimes a little bit slow, and particularly a man-to-man that switches, I think, has always given the Italians trouble.
The last foul was on Maserati, a correction there, as Pasquale cuts the lead now to 4 for the Italian team. 11:20 remaining in this ball game. Pasquale on Maserati. Policello. Sacchetti.
See, the Canadians have given them trouble here with the man-to-man on that possession.
Over the back with the foul, Villalta. 6th personal foul against the Italians. Canada's ball on the sideline. Coming into the ball game for Italy is number 7,
But there's also
Enrico Gallardi.
There's also the other side of that, Bobby. Maybe your team that you have out there is not good defensively man-to-man, so that you have to play a zone, although it is playing to the other team's strength.
Well, you know, I think that's true to an extent, but I've always felt that you can play man-to-man with different restrictions with any kind of a team. As an example, maybe your team can go out 50 feet and pick up, but mine can only go 25 and pick up. I think the point of pickup, initial pickup, is so important, and I think my talent or your talent is going to determine how far out we can pick up.
3-second violation against the Canadian team. 63-59. Italy leading. 10:40 left to play in the ball game. Rick Barry along with Bobby Knight from Indiana University and Bill Russell from Mercer Island, Washington.
What I was laughing, I started to laugh, Rick, because I was going to say that I knew there had to be an identification from where I was from, but there needs no identification for Bill Russell, and then you throw in Mercer Island, Washington.
Policello with the basket. He'll go to the free throw line. Foul being called against, let's see, who's Muhire, who just came into the ball game. Muhire picks up the foul, number 15 for Canada. Well, listen, I don't want him to get too big ahead. You see, but I've got to keep him, bring him down to earth every once in a while.
How far is Bainbridge Island from Mercer Island?
As the crow flies or as the ferry goes?
About 3 income brackets.
Of course, that's the site of the 1990 Goodwill games, Seattle area.
We had a boy play for us at West Point when I was coaching from there named Tommy Almuela from Bainbridge Island.
You have to go by ferry to get there, Bob. Turnover as Muhire lost the ball. 10 minutes left to play. 7-point lead now enjoyed by the Italian team. That matches the biggest lead of the ball game that they had earlier, 55-48. It still will be Italy's ball. Jack Donahue looking on. Has to be very concerned with the way his team has played here in the second half. They were tied 43 at the half.
Another 5 minutes, you'll have to take out the worry beads, Rick.
Rick, am I correct?
Ooh, nice drive on the part of Gallardi.
Am I correct in thinking that we did not use the opening that we taped?
You are absolutely correct. And Pasquale throws it a nice left hand.
Because I remember in the opening that we didn't use, I talked about how the Canadians would handle the Italians in this game.
I know. I was going to bring that up just a little while later, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Bobby, it'll die on the editing room floor.
From 16 feet, the shot from Villalta.
In that same tape, Bobby, in the same tape, I said the Americans would handle the Argentines pretty easy, too.
It's true. You fellas both got lucky. Triano misses from outside. Battling his Wilger on the boards. He's called for a pushing. It's the biggest lead of the game that the Italian team has enjoyed, 70-61, with 9:02 remaining. Substitutes coming in. Kazanowski, number 8, and also Tony Nims, we have not seen for quite a while, as you watch going over the back and pushing his Wilger right there with the foul.
I would think the Italians would start to be very careful with the basketball here. I think they'll move the ball for 15 or 20 seconds before taking the shot, and they look up there and they've got a lot of time and a good lead to do that.
Is this a little early? That might backfire?
Well, I think it very easily could, but I don't think they'll think about that. We'll see what happens here, and I'm wrong again. Arriba. Arriba was 27, and now Italy leads by 11, 72-61. Any more predictions, fellas? Pasquale, no basket.
We're going to leave the rest of you, Rick.
I'm 0 for July, so I'm just going to keep quiet. There's the play again. There's the bump and the continuation. He makes the basket, but in international competition, the continuation rule not in effect.
And the Italians were using a 6-man defensively, but they just got him off the court.
Wide open under the basket, Triano, and a good pass coming from Buhar. Breaks down defensively on the part of the Italians. 9-point lead for Italy. Maserati with the ball. That's Gilardi, three-pointer. Boy, not only are they not using up the clock, they're taking bad shots, Bobby. Pasquale jumps right into his man as he had him in the paratrooper club, and Maserati will be called for the foul. Now, that was pretty tough because Maserati was actually going away from him, and he still jumped into him. Yeah, you see
that was
play
tough
again.
for Maserati.
Oh, it was. That was a terrible call. Maserati was going away from the man, and he actually had to jump about 3 feet to make contact. So a break for Canada. Coming in for the Italian team is Brunamonte, number 9. Maserati going to the bench to get a rest. And Pasquale.
Get an oil change.
But there are a lot of good shooters that really don't have the presence of mind to draw that two-shot foul. You know, I've seen a lot of kids, and we've got one, Steve Alford, who's had to work awfully hard at making the fake, getting the guy up in the air, and then getting to the free throw line. And it takes real good concentration to be able to get that. Also takes a guy who likes to shoot free throws. Well, or a guy that just knows the value of scoring. How many times were there when you scored a large number of points and a great percentage of them were free throws? Oh, yeah, exactly, especially earlier in the career when before I tore up the knee. And the hook shot, nice move by Policello. Back up to a 9-point advantage for Italy, 7:50 left to play. Kazanowski off balance, not a good shot. Sims had it. Pulled away by Buhar. Sims again. And he doesn't get the roll. They're going to call a foul as the elbow is thrown by Policello. But Rick, would you agree that there is a different mentality for a shooter and a scorer? No question. As you see the elbow by Policello, number 8. I really believe that you don't have to be a good shooter to be a really good or a great scorer. I think a scorer's philosophy is basically to get yourself to the free throw line 8 to 10 times a game by driving and working hard, to pick up some garbage points around the basket, to get on the breaks a couple of times, and hit only a reasonably decent amount of your shots. If you shoot 45% from the field, you could be a really great scorer without having to, take an exorbitant number of shots.
You have one element out, Bobby.
No conscience.
No
sorry.
conscience.
I think sometimes a shooter has no conscience, but I think a scorer is a guy that really concentrates on each possession. He's into the game. He really sees what's going on. Wrong, Bobby. No conscience. No conscience. You can't have a conscience and be a scorer, believe me. Yeah, I think you can. A shooter, a guy that shoots, can play without a conscience, but scorers really have to see what's going on. I really think that in all seriousness, that you really also have to play the game so that if a guy has a better shot than you, got to be willing to give it up. And if you don't do that, then you're not a team player and you don't deserve to be out there on the floor.
Well spoken, Rick.
Well, I prided myself in my passing. I thought it was fun to make a pass. I like to do that. 7 minutes and 25 seconds left in this game. 74-66. The Italian team leading Canada. Sims with the ball. Shot clock is down now to 10 seconds. Riva reaching in, picks up the foul. The penalty against the Italians will send the Canadians to the free throw line, so that may be a blessing for them if they can convert, trailing by 8.
And he took them off the hook because they had nothing going then.
It's great being in a country in a building where no smoking is allowed, and there's such a wave of smoke coming up here. Terrific. I want you to enforce the bill. I want you to be my enforcer.
Rick, are you Think maybe it's someone smoking in this building?
Only the people who are sitting in front of us on the press row. Back come the Italians. Nice drive on the part of Gilardi. 10-point lead for Italy as the Canadians broke down defensively there. Gilardi had a wide open pass to the hoop. Just under 7 minutes left. Sims off balance. The Canadians, Bobby, I think, are taking a lot of off-balance shots here in the last 5 minutes.
They're doing a lot of one-on-one, and that'll get you off-balance shots more than anything.
Same thing that they broke down into after getting that 18-12 lead early in the first half.
Loose ball picked up by Riva. Nice cross on the move. He'll go to the free throw line. The foul against Kazanowski.
Riva really protected the ball there and kept it away from any block by going under the bucket. I've always thought that the worst thing for a blocker is the basket, and Riva got the basket between the blocker and the ball.
Good extension, too, with his body and arm to keep it away from Kazanowski. We have a timeout on the court. 6:34 left to play in this ball game. The Italian team leading Canada 76-66.
Hope you're enjoying our basketball coverage, particularly the commentary of Rick Barry, Bill Russell, and Bob Knight. What a combination of basketball minds to bring you the Men's World Championship game. I love the Bill Russell comment to Rick Barry about being a great scorer. He says you have to have a lot of ability, but remember, Rick, you also have to have no conscience. Anybody who's a basketball fan can appreciate that a little bit. Wanted to remind you that we're going to have more coverage of men's gymnastics team competition that happens at the large arena at the Olympic Sports Complex, and we'll have Charlie Neal, Bart Connor, Kathy Johnson bringing you that activity a little bit later as we continue with our coverage of the Goodwill games. But right now we're going to go back to men's basketball in Oviedo, Spain.
Rick Barry along with Bobby Knight from Indiana University and Bill Russell. 6:34 left to play here at the Oviedo Sports Palace, where the Italian team enjoying a 10-point lead and a chance to increase on that, as at the free throw line is the man who has been the offensive fire plug for this team, Antonello Riva. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall. He has 27 points in the ball game. Had a big first half where he came up with 22. And he could very easily give the Italians their biggest lead of the ball game. That would have matched it. Their biggest lead was 11 points when they led 72-61. And this, I guess, would have to be considered a bit of an upset here. The Canadian team, you felt, Bobby's a little bit stronger, although both teams finished second in their respective group in the preliminary round.
When I talked to Jack yesterday, they had lost to the Yugoslavians by 3 points, and he felt had not played particularly well in doing so and thought Yugoslavia was much stronger than Italy was.
So 2 upsets perhaps here in the making. A 3-point try, not to beat, on the part of Gilardi. It goes back to Policello. Traveling is called against him. The United States, of course, upset by Argentina, 74-70, and now the Italian team, leading by 10 with 6:10 to go, is ready to knock off the Canadians.
That's the one thing that I would never want to see brought into American basketball, is that free throw in from the back. I think, as I mentioned earlier, it ends up wasting more time than it creates quickness in the game.
And that, of course, is because the smart players kick the ball away and do all sorts of things to prevent that
from happening. Or they take advantage of it on offense and go too far with it.
Pasquale, again, the one-on-one we've talked so much about. The Canadian team not really executing much of an offense here, doing it all on their own, and the shots are not dropping.
And what they're doing is making it easy for the Italian team to play defense. They don't have to play as hard or as well.
I think that is one of the great points in basketball, to make them play defense. I think that was a tremendous point that you make there.
Three-pointer, count it, Riva. He has 30 points.
I think lead of the game. The more things you expose the defense to, the more chances you have of getting a good basket, and the more difficult you make it for them. And your point about not making them play is one of the real keys in this game.
Muhar with the missed shot whacked in the face as Riva. He has hit the deck. He got cracked pretty good. So another Italian down. They already lost Costa in the first half with a dislocated shoulder. Keep an eye on him. He's in the middle of your screen right now with the right elbow. And again, Sims is the guy. Sims has been a real antagonist out there in this ball game. He popped one of the other Italians. He popped Premier earlier in the ball game down on the floor on the other end of the basket. Now Riva took a shot. Kind of guy you like to have in your team, right, Bobby?
No. I can remember when we played Canada in the '84 Olympics, a couple of our players came up to me and said, "Coach, don't worry about Canada. Sims is enough to get us ready for Canada."
And you can see why, because he is a very aggressive player, and the way that he is playing, I would not call him a very clean player. He's done a couple of dirty things out there. You don't like to see that.
Well, a lot of times a guy that playing that way really gets the other team ready.
Exactly. I mean, it makes them alert. It makes them the emotions of preparing for somebody like that, I think, are far best left dormant than alive in a game.
There's Triano.
We should always have a motto: don't do the other coach's job.
Pasquale will go to the line.
Unless you were turning Loskatov loose.
Here's the play again. Pasquale on the drive and hammered with the body. 5 minutes left to play in this game. The score, 79-80 for Italy and 66 for Canada.
Portions of the 1986 Goodwill Games have been brought to you by Pepsi. When it comes to taste and refreshment, time after time, it's Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
5 minutes left to play. And as you can see, the inside game has been controlled by the Italian team, 32-22. They're enjoying a 13-point lead now. We had said it was 80-66. The scoreboard's been corrected now, 79-66. 13 points has been the biggest lead of the game thus far for the Canadian team. I mean, for the Italian team. Italy had the Italian team. Canada had led 18-12 with 14:35 left in the first half. But since that time, it was a nip-and-tuck battle all the way to the half at 43 all. But Italy has taken control here in the second half. Buhar will go to the free throw line.
And that disease has slipped across the border. Bad free throw shooting.
Rick, I think that an Italian victory here in this ball game would actually be to the benefit of the United States in the overall scoring, because the United States has beaten Italy if it comes down to that to decide who plays in the Final Four. And I think one of the interesting things, if this game continues like it is, will be the United States getting knocked off today, Canada getting knocked off today, and playing one another tomorrow, which can come back best off having played relatively poorly in the game today.
And interesting, too, because this Canadian team are much more better in ball club as far as playing together, used to one another, where the American team just put together recently. It will be interesting to see whether or not the American team can respond to the challenge that faces them tomorrow against this Canadian team. And also, the same thing holds true for Canada. But an excellent point about the point totals. It is better for the United States should Italy win this one.
The Canadians may be a little bit immune to the emotions also. They've been beaten a lot, and they've won a lot, and they've been up and down in a lot of tournaments. And the United States, being young kids, may really be very, very ready to play in tomorrow's game.
Arriba with the three-pointer. Rebound to Triano. Well, certainly they responded well after almost losing the game to Puerto Rico when they played Italy the next game. Inside, Wilter with the basket. It's a 9-point lead for the Italian team. 4:20 left to play. Three-point try. Gilardi, count it.
The Canadian zone really gives the Italians a chance with a little penetration to get awfully good shots here with this kind of spread.
12-point lead for Italy. Just inside of 4 minutes left to play. Triano misses a three-pointer. The good quick kick-out pass to Gilardi, and he finishes it off.
That's it.
14-point lead, the biggest of the game right now for Italy at the 3:43 mark. And Canada looks as though they are going down to defeat here against this Italian ball club. Coming to you from the Oviedo Sports Palace, Rick Barry along with Bill Russell and Bobby Knight from Indiana University. The shot from outside, three-point try, does not go by Hatch.
Bill, if you'll call in the dogs, I'll put out the fire and we can go home.
Hatch, three-pointer, not to be. Foul being called against the Italian Gilardi for throwing the elbow. See the replay. He's still discussing with the official. He won't win this case. It's not an intentional
Well, he knows
foul.
that official doesn't speak the same language that he's speaking to him. That's why he's talking to him. So he looks good to the coach. Because I told the referee, see? He knows the referee doesn't understand.
Well, he just wanted to get a little more airtime also.
That's a violation.
Just a little early, I would say, on that one. Score of the basket. Of course, in international competition, the only person that can commit the lane violation for the offensive team is the free throw shooter.
It's interesting for me to note that at this point, with the Italians ahead by 12, they've committed over twice as many personal fouls as the Canadians have also.
Costly turnover. Three-pointer counted for Triano. He has 21 to lead Canada. And again, full court pressure by the Canadians. They trail by 9. 3:10 left to play. Again, it may be a little bit too late. Very reminiscent of what happened to the United States. They battled back, got within 2 with 15 seconds left, but wind up losing 74 to 70. Now the Italians using some time. Shot clock is down to 5 seconds. Gilardi pulled down by Muhar. Back comes Canada.
Now Canada has to get a good shot every time down now. Because the Italians are going to use up 25 seconds or more.
Count it, three-pointer, Triano. He has 24. And all of a sudden it's a 6-point game. 2.5 left to play. Plenty of time left.
Triano, the last 2 times he's handled the ball, has made sure he's been in 3-point range. He stopped on the break the time before this.
Important offensive sequence here for Italy. The shot missed and knocked out of bounds by Vyacheslav. It goes over to Canada. Another three-pointer, Triano. Count it. 3 consecutive three-point shots by Triano. It's a 3-point game with 2:05 to play. Substitution coming in. Maserati coming back in, the experienced backcourt player for the Italian team. And he is replacing Bruno Monte. Full court pressure by Canada. 2:05 to play. 84-81. It was a 14-point lead just over a minute ago. The crowd comes alive at the Oviedo Sports Palace. 10 on the shot clock. Riva inside gets the members of the Paratrooper Club, and the dues paid once again.
That's what you have to do when you can't make a point. You go down, you can't make a basket. You got to go inside and make them foul you or make them play strong defense.
That's number 13 on the foul. It's a good head pump fake by Riva.
Riva made 2 great moves. One out on the floor to get by the first defensive man, and then without taking a bad shot, he maintained his poise and drew the foul on the shot fake.
31 for Riva. He's the leading scorer in the ball game. 27 for Triano for Canada. Muhar pulls it down for Canada. They trail by 4. 1:35 left to play. Three-pointer, Triano. He finally misses. He had made 3 consecutive shots, but his last touch by Italy. Canada's ball.
Canada had a great screen. I think it was Hatch that set the screen to free Triano. Triano was running the baseline, and they're going to really go to Triano here.
He was going to his left, Bobby. He's a right-handed shooter. I think that's what threw the shot off.
Didn't quite get set up.
Wilser inside. Knocked away by Maserati. Jump ball. Good play by the experienced Maserati for Italy.
And he put the ball on the floor again.
And that may have been the best defensive play of the game so far. He doesn't put the ball on the floor. It's a dunk shot and maybe a 3-point play.
Of course, the good substitution on the part of the Italian coach, Benacchini, by bringing Maserati in, and that's very well. As you see him come in right there, made the good play to knock it loose, as Wilser did have the dunk, and credit Maserati with the big save for Italy. 4-point lead, 85-81, Italy. 1:25 left to play. They had led, Italy did, by 14 points about a minute and 40 seconds ago. Another try, Triano, 3-pointer, no way. Pulled down by Muhar, big basket, tough roll. Another pick by Hatch, and Italy finally comes away with it on the rebound by Zalata. 1:10 to play.
That was a tough sequence for Canada.
Very.
From the baseline, Zalata, big basket. Zalata with 13. That's Pasquale. 50 seconds left. Wide open. Hatch, 3-pointer. it back and finishes it off. He's fouled.
And that's when you get rewarded for taking a bad shot.
Oh, my. Really a bad shot. Maybe the worst shot we've seen taken under the circumstances. There he battles to get it back, goes up strong, and is fouled by Wolger. And we've got a timeout on the court. 35 and 1/10 seconds left. The Italian team leading 89-83 over Canada. Back with Bill Russell and Bobby Knight from Indiana University. 35 and 1/10 seconds left in this game. And Bobby, even though the Italian team now with an 89-83 lead, they have given this Canadian team a real run at them by playing some foolish basketball.
Well, you know, he's just taken 2 shots now that were kind of ill-advised shots. Made the first one, missed the second one, but as Bill said, he got the rewards of a bad shot with a rebound and a basket. Now, if they continue to play that last possession with the ball, Canada's got the foul. They take the ball back out of bounds, and they're in a situation where you have no 30-second clock anymore.
Of course, the United States team could easily have lost and probably should have lost the game to Puerto Rico. Same situation, a couple of bad shots in the part of one of the American players. That's Triano. Good fake. And the foul reaching in on the rebound by Triano. So still an opportunity for the Canadian team. If they hit these free throws, they can cut it to 4. 22 seconds left. No, they're calling the foul against the Canadians.
Triano pushed off going in after the ball, and I think the Italians are going to take it out of bounds.
You have that option in international competition to not shoot the free throws and maintain possession of the ball. We saw the Argentinian team do the same thing against the United States on several occasions. Foul being called against Muhar, reaching in. 15 and 9/10 seconds left.
You got a great free throw shooter. Do you let him shoot with this lead, or you keep the ball possession?
I probably would take the conservative approach and always try to keep possession. I think particularly now that you can throw the ball into the into either court from the out-of-bounds situation, like you didn't used to be able to do that. And now in international play, it was like the NBA rule. And now when you can throw it in the back court, I'd rather have the ball.
And again, the foul, just under 10 seconds left, 9.9, the foul against Muhar. That's the 5th personal against him. He has fouled out of the ball game. And again, Italy will take the ball out of bounds. So 2 upsets here. A minor one with the Canadian team losing to the Italian team, or at least it looks as though that will happen unless a minor miracle takes place as Sims comes in from Muhar.
Major miracle.
A major miracle. And a major upset with Argentina beating the United States. Final seconds ticking away. And they get the turnover. Pasquale with a 3-point shot. Count it. That will take care of it. The Italian team coming away with the victory over Canada, which helps the United States cause after their upset, 74-70, losing to Argentina. It's Italy 89, Canada 86. For Bobby Knight and Bill Russell, this is Rick Barry from Oviedo Sports Palace.
Probe for the talent of the Goodwill Games has been provided by the John White's companies.
The World Basketball Championship format is very different than what a lot of North American viewers might be used to seeing in the NCAAs or, for that matter, in the NBA Championship. So we wanted to explain it to you a little bit. First of all, let me say that they started with 24 teams. In the first round, they were reduced down to 12 teams. They're playing now a 3-game round robin. The top 2 from each group will move on and play for the gold, silver, and bronze. Now, let's start with Group A. The Sunday results, Argentina, as we told you earlier, upsetting the United States 74-70. Italy beating Canada, the game you just saw. Yugoslavia defeated China 106-82. Now, here are the standings in the group. The standings come on a point system. You get 2 points for a win, 1 point for a loss, and teams carry over some points from wins in the first rounds. And all of these teams have 2 games left. Remember, 2 points for a win, 1 point for a loss. Now, let's go into Group A's games tomorrow. USA-Canada, critical game, obviously. We'll be carrying that game in prime time tomorrow. Italy will play Yugoslavia. China versus Argentina. Now, here's Group B. They are playing in Barcelona. The Soviet Union defeated Greece today, 105-93, to remain unbeaten during the entire tournament. Brazil over Cuba, 99-83. It was Spain defeating Israel, 94-65. The standings there, 2 points for a win, 1 for a loss. Soviet Union, Brazil, and Spain all in contention. Remember, 2 teams from A, 2 from B will go into the Final Four to play for the gold, silver, and bronze. The games tomorrow in Barcelona in Group B. Soviet Union, Spain, critical game. We'll be carrying some of that game here on our coverage. Brazil plays Israel, and Greece will play Cuba. So there you have a wrap-up of just how the second round and then the championship round will work in the Men's World Championship basketball tournament being played in Spain. We're into gymnastics right now here in Moscow. However, the men's team competition, I know you were at the venue tonight.
Was at the venue tonight, the Olympic Sports Complex. That's also the location where the boxing took place this evening. We have news to report for you. Our commentators are Charlie Neal, Kathy Johnson, and Bart Connor. This, of course, is the first rotation of the men's team gymnastics. This is at the facility, the Olympic Sports Complex, that was built for the 1980 Olympics. It's a 2-arena complex, and it's a beautiful place to see. So let's go there right now for action in men's gymnastics.
Welcome to the Olympic Sports Complex in Moscow. We're getting ready for the first day of competition in artistic gymnastics. The men will be in action today in the team finals. And working with me is a 1984 gold medal team member, Bart Connor. And Bart, let's talk a bit how this team competition works and what can we expect to see.
Well, I think first of all we're going to see an unbelievable competition. We have some very strong teams here. This competition is a little different than some of the other international events in that there are no compulsory exercises, only optional exercises. So the team champion will be determined tonight. There are 6 events, 6 performers on each event. The top 5 scores will count, so there's very little room for error. You have to consider the Soviet Union as the favorite. Yuri, Korolev, who has been their world champion 2 times in the all-around, he's their heavy hitter. He's a great performer, and I think will really provide the consistency that they're going to need.
Okay, Kathy Johnson was also a member of our 1984 Olympic team. She won a silver and bronze. Let's talk a little bit about the United States' chances tonight.
Well, after winning the team gold in 1984 and having a lot of our top guns retire, we're in a rebuilding stage. We finished a disappointing 9th place in the World Championships, but since then we're looking stronger than ever. The American team is led by Tim Daggett, who is our national champion and an Olympic gold medalist, so we should look pretty good here.
Okay, 13 countries participating. Let's get right to it. We're in the first rotation right now, and the first young man we're going to see is Sylvio Kroll. He's from East Germany. He's going to be working on the high bar. He finished 2nd in this event at the World Championships last year. This is considered the most spectacular event in gymnastics, a showcase.
And Sylvio has a fantastic routine. I think he's one of the most exciting high bar performers because you'll notice he swings all out. Look at that, a full twisting one-arm giant swing. Look at the speed, good momentum, and a beautiful ginger from a one-arm. Now, he was a little close, but he did a nice job in keeping the rhythm of the exercise moving. Nice work here, straddle front. Look how high that was, perfect position. Good speed on the giants. Okay, and a fantastic dismount. A double front with a 1.5 twist.
Good performance from Sylvio Kroll from East Germany, first coached by Guido Jans. You may remember him, the father of Olympic champion Karen Jans.
Karen Jans was a very favorite gymnast of mine.
His routine once again.
Let's take a look at the release move from the one-arm giant swing. He has good speed over the top. Look at the extension in the line. Nice work. Okay, he's going to be in a little close. You can see he almost caught his chin on the bar at the same time he caught his hands. But he did a nice job in recovering and keeping the exercise moving.
And the end of his performance, the score for Sylvio Kroll for East Germany. That's 4 judges taking part in the scoring here. And they'll take the best average, and he comes out with a 9.70. You see the little scoreboard got a little crazy on us there, but 9.70 was the score for Sylvio Kroll. Now here's Yuri Korolev. He's of the Soviet Union. He's now working on the parallel bars. He's the only gymnast to win 2 World Championship all-around titles. He did it in 1981 and again in 1985.
And what's amazing about that, Charlie, is that you can understand him winning. He's an outstanding gymnast, but to be at the top for 4 years in this highly competitive international field is just remarkable.
He was first in the all-arounds and the vault, second on floor exercise in the rings in the 85 World Championships. And what an athlete, Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union.
He had a very nice exercise. I think all of his work is very consistent. I think that's one of the most important things about his style of gymnastics is that he's got very good events in every one of the pieces of equipment. Nice double back off. He spots the landing, takes a little bit of a step, but that will be the only deduction in that exercise.
And he comes up with a score of 9.60. That is Yuri Gurylev of the Soviet Union. Still in our first rotation, Yuri Balabanov, also of the Soviet Union. He's 23 years of age, has been a member of their national team since 1982, and he's a master of sport, one of the highest achievements you can attain in the Soviet Union.
He has the coolest parallel bar routine. Look at the giant swings. Talking about amplitude, a giant swing with a full turn, and now another one with a half turn. This is great work. He's doing great work above the bars as well as below the bars. This is a Balabanov original. It's a straddle L with bent arms, kind of a unique looking position.
We're really starting to see a lot of new moves on the parallel bars. Here for a couple of years, everyone seemed to have the same routine.
And what a dismount. 2 back tosses to a perfectly stuck double back flip.
Let's talk a little bit about what the judges have been looking for in the scoring and what they're looking for in their scoring so far in this competition.
Well, we've talked about the importance of originality. All of these gymnasts need to have the basic requirements, but look at the amplitude. That is why he's going to get the big scores. The swing is tremendous, the form and the execution is exact, and tremendous line throughout the whole exercise.
Yuri Balabanov working the parallel bars. He gets a score of 9.60. Quite a performance from that young man of the Soviet Union. And we'll be back with more gymnastics in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll return from the United States. A student at the University of Illinois. Lives in Champaign, Illinois. He's working the parallel bars.
Charlie is probably one of our more explosive performers on the U.S. team. He does nice giant swings, 2 in a row. You know, the U.S. team has had a rough day so far. They have not really been putting together good performances. But Charlie Lake's been kind of a hot and cold performer. He's doing very well. Nice work, Diamondov, right to the top. A little over on that stutz, but good control. And a pike double back. Nice landing.
Has been in gymnastics 7 years. You're looking at Charlie Lakes from the University of Illinois representing the United States. And he comes up with a 9.45. We're in the second rotation here. This is the team competition, the team finals. And you're looking at Artemov, Vladimir Artemov of the Soviet Union, started gymnastics back in 1976.
One of the exciting things about seeing team competition in gymnastics is that there are 6 events going on at one time. So you're looking at one side of the gym to see a great parallel bar routine, and here we are over at high bar for Artemov.
Artemov finished 5th in the high bar last year in the World Championships.
Beautiful one-arm giant swings. Okay, now he's going to set up for his release moves. There's a reverse hecht, right to a ginger. Perfect form, perfect execution. That's the new trend in high bar these days, is to do the big release moves, but to do a combination of 1 or 2 or 3 of them in a row.
Again, we told you earlier, this is considered probably the most spectacular event in gymnastics.
So far, his exercise is perfect. There's a double twisting, double back. Okay, he was a little short on the rotation and the twist. It caused him to step off the mat, but otherwise the exercise was perfect.
And he gets a good score of 9.75 for Artemov of the Soviet Union. Now this is Dennis Hayden on his second rotation for the United States, working the parallel bar. One of the twins, one half of the Hayden combination. This is Dennis.
And look at those giant swings. Those are as well as any gymnast can do them in the world. Beautiful amplitude. Okay, a little sloppy on that Diamondov. Some one-bar work, a straddle and a press to a handstand. Okay, another bobble there would cost him about 1/10 of a point. I've seen him look sharper and a little more confident, but these bars are really bouncy, and it might be giving him a little trouble.
That's Dennis Hayden, second rotation on the parallel bars. He finishes with a 9.45. Dennis Hayden. And there you see the score coming up. He's 3 minutes older than his brother Dan. Here's the combined scores of all the judges. They'll take the average of the 4. And you see a 9.45 for Dennis Hayden of the United States. The next young man we're about to see is from the Soviet Union. We've seen him a little earlier on the parallel bar. Now he's working the high bar. Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union.
Oh, nice work. Beautiful one-arm reverse hex right to another one. That's the combination I was speaking about. He was one of the first few gymnasts who did 2 reverse hex in a row. Now he's doing them out of one-arm giant swings. Great work. Nice straddle front work.
Bart, the Soviets do the hardest tricks in the world and yet do them with impeccable form.
What a clean exercise and a fantastic finish with a layout double backflip.
Yuri Korolev working the high bar, made first debut in senior competition at the age of 18. He's 23 years of age right now, became the youngest absolute champion in the history of gymnastics back in 1981, gets a 9.90 for that high bar routine. Now you're watching Phil Cahoy of the United States on the parallel bar. He finished 4th in the all-arounds at the Nationals in Indianapolis just a couple of weeks ago.
And Phil has always been great on the parallel bars, partly because he's very tall. You'll notice a beautiful long line in that swing at the Balabanov with an extra pirouette. Nice work. That's called a whippet. It's a front flip from upper arm support. So far, a very clean exercise and a nice tight double back. Good job.
Phil Cahoy of the United States, the parallel bar. And he finishes with a score there of 9.65. Another young man that we saw a little earlier is Balabanov, Yuri Balabanov of the Soviet Union. Now he is about to work on the high bar.
Charlie, he's one of my favorite gymnasts on the Soviet team because he does the most amazing difficulty in every routine. He's challenging the most difficult tricks that are being done in the world. Not just on 1 or 2 events, but on every event.
Finished 8th on this particular event at the World Championships last year.
What a release move. That's a laid-out front somersault. He had to be 8 feet above the bar on that catch.
A lot of elements.
Fantastic work. A full over the bar to a one-arm giant swing to a one-arm reverse hex. What tremendous work.
One of the top Soviet gymnasts, Yuri Balabanov.
And here's the dismount. A double front with a 1.5 twist. I don't know what happened.
Looked like he twisted his knee as he came down. There has been some equipment problems here with the mat slipping and sliding. And let's see, his coach is carrying him off. Hopefully the injury is not too serious.
Oh, Charlie, I hate to see that. I have been through that particular injury myself. It looked as if he hadn't quite finished his twist and perhaps a little hyperextension as he landed. They're having some trouble with the mats. Even the Soviet gymnasts are having trouble with this equipment here. What a shame.
Balabanov, Yuri Balabanov of the Soviet Union, and they're attending to his knee right now. Hopefully he will be able to continue in the competition, and we'll continue with our men's coverage of gymnastics in just a moment.
We'll be going back to gymnastics in just a moment. And speaking of gymnastics, we want to tell you about the Hayden twins. I know you've just seen one of them in action just moments ago. From the very beginning, the Hayden twins have done pretty much everything together. Recently, they both married within 6 months of each other. They are senior classmates at Arizona State University, and they share a frustrating tendency for injury. Here is our Goodwill profile.
Relax completely. Breathe in success.
The mental imagery gives, I think it definitely gives an edge. I mean, you can go through a number of routines. You can go through 10, 20, 30 routines in your head and not get physically tired, but still work the routines. And I think it gives a big edge.
So we're dealing with increasing human effectiveness, relationships in school,
their approach toward schoolwork, their approach toward the gym, and actually an approach toward the day when they get up. They have to program themselves a little bit, and I feel like they are very successful with this.
You sore anywhere? Just a little tight in the lower back. Acupressure, we've learned it over a few years.
Good. Relax. Deep breath. He takes a deep breath, and then I apply the pressure with my thumbs on the different points.
You know when he's really... It relaxes the muscles, it brings blood to the area, and it also breaks up lactic acid. And it's a massage technique, and especially when you're sore from the previous workout, it helps a lot to get the blood moving and raise the body temperature.
Sometimes it's really frustrating when you can't spend as much time with him as I want to, or he's not home as much as I'd like him to be. But then again, you know, he's doing something that he wants to do, and I have to stick by him and help him through it.
A marriage you do have to work at, and I think with Barbara and I, it is hard, and I think it's even more so harder on her because I'm dealing with people, I'm traveling, and I'm seeing a lot of different faces, and I'm occupied with my gymnastics. And yet Barbara, she's working 7 days a week, and I think that's very tough for her. And when I go on trips, she's alone a lot of times, and just like Dennis's wife, Tanya, I think it's very hard for our wives.
It's worth it because I'll do as much as I can for his gymnastics, and then when, you know, all the sacrifices that we make now, when he makes 88, I think that it'll all pay off.
Dan Hayden of the United States. He looks dazed, hurting himself, warming up for his high bar routine. Let's hope he is okay.
And Charlie, he does an unbelievable trick, and he was warming up for a trick called a Kovacs, which is a double backflip over the bar. And he must have slipped right at the bottom. I didn't actually see it, but I know it's an outrageous trick. And if you wipe out on that trick, it's a big-time wipeout. He seems to be okay now, and in addition to our American trainer, we also have one of the Soviet trainers who's trying to help him out.
You know, just before we went away, we saw Yuri Balabanov of the Soviet Union on his dismount of the high bar. As you look at Balabanov there, just messes knee up, and here he is getting ready for the floor X.
In fact, it looks like he's preparing to compete on the floor, but after that knee injury, I don't expect that he could. He has his long pants on, which is, you wouldn't compete floor exercise in long pants. You know what he's doing. Charlie, this is an unusual case, and it's very important to note what's happening here. He hurt himself in the high bar. In order to compete in later rounds of individual competition, he has to have made a token appearance, even to score a 0 on the other pieces of equipment. So he will step up and appear on floor and pommel horse and throughout the rest of the competition, just so that if he's healthy in a couple of days, by the time the finals come, he'll be able to perform.
And it could be a big blow to the Soviet Union's all-around team championship. But here's a young man who will help them. Aleksei Tikhonkikh of the Soviet Union.
We saw Alexander a few months ago when they came to the States. He is an unbelievable gymnast in every piece of equipment. Let's see his mount here. Oh, what work! A double twisting double back. There's only a handful of gymnasts who can even do that skill, and he seemed to do it so easily.
He was a member of the Soviet Union team that won the World Championships last year, and he was first in the all-arounds this year at the McDonald's American Cup.
Beautiful flexibility.
That carpet, I'll tell you, it's got to be distracting to the gymnast, right, Kathy?
I'm glad somebody brought that up. This has been driving me crazy the whole time. I don't know about you, Bart, but I have never performed on a floor exercise mat like that.
You know, in fact, we're used to working on a blue mat, so you're used to looking for blue as you flip. But unfortunately, that carpeting looks like they got it out of an old rundown Holiday Inn in Des Moines or something. It's pretty hurting.
We'll be getting letters from Des Moines and carpet salesman now.
Here's his last run. Oh, and a perfect tuck double back. Great exercise.
And a great performance from Aleksei Tikhonkikh of the Soviet Union, member of the national team since 1982. He scores a 9.6 on the floor X, and we'll watch his routine once again.
Watch this mount. full in, full out. It's 2 flips and 2 twists. No problem.
I said a 9.6. It's a 9.65 for Tikhonkikh. A good performance for him. As we go to a young man from East Germany, Sven Tippelt. He's 21 years of age, and he's working on the parallel bars.
He's one of their new performers, Charlie. Nice work. Beautiful giant swings. Now notice he's going all the way out to the end with a giant swing. Oh, what a trick. That's just like a reverse heck that they've been doing on the high bar, but he actually did it on the parallel bars. I've never seen that before. He's maybe just a little sloppy because he's young and I think maybe a little inexperienced, but look at this exercise. He's doing all kinds of unusual skills. And look at that, a double front off the end of the parallel bars. I've never seen anybody try that before.
He finished first in that event at the National Championships last year. So that'll wrap it up for the team competition. The Soviets take first place, East Germany second, China third, while the United States finishes a disappointing 5th. Now tomorrow, the top 3 from each country will compete in every event that will determine the individual all-around champion. For Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor, this is Charlie Neal saying so long from the Olympic Sports Complex.
Traveling all over covering the Goodwill Games. We've been going to Spain, to Moscow, to Yermala, to Tallinn. Of course, occasionally we get to go back to the United States so you can see a commercial. We've been bouncing pictures off satellites, so there's been a lot of traveling in the coverage of the game. But tomorrow, Marianne Laughlin, we are going to travel to even new heights.
Probably our farthest venue yet. Since March the 13th, 2 Soviet cosmonauts have been orbiting the Earth. It is a mission of firsts. It was the first launch of an all-Soviet crew to be carried live on television, the launch, that is. It was also the first time men have transferred between 2 orbiting space stations. And tomorrow we are hoping for another first. I hope to be talking with those cosmonauts aboard the Mir space station in a special 2-way hookup between Moscow and outer space. We hope to bring that to you tomorrow, and perhaps a special additional Goodwill Games event going on up there. We'll show the folks tomorrow.
Oh, great. I can't wait to find out about that. That'll be a surprise to me, too. And it reminds me of Michael Bent's comment today. He said sometimes when he first came to Moscow, he looked around, he thought he was on Mars. I said...
Close.
Particularly when you get lost in the subway system, you can think you're on Mars. We have an excellent late-night show coming your way in a little while. Kurt Gowdy will be joining us. Kurt, of course, was involved in our telecast coverage of the marathon. He'll be covering rowing a little bit later. Kurt has a lot of great stories to tell you. Don't miss that if you can stay up late enough to see that. We hope you will. Kurt will be working with Peggy Fleming on our coverage of figure skating. That'll be next Tuesday and Wednesday night. Top skaters in all the world will be there. We'll continue with wrestling. That'll be the gold medal match between the Soviet Union and Bulgaria. Team handball debuts on our coverage of Goodwill Games. And we'll also give you a report on tennis being played in Yermala, about 500 miles northwest here of Moscow. In just a moment, we're going to continue with our coverage of the quarterfinals in the boxing. Stay with us. Ready to begin our coverage of boxing this evening. We're going to join Skip Carey and Paul Horning for coverage of the lightweight division. Romallis Ellis from the United States will be fighting Jose Luis Perez of Venezuela. Ellis, a hard puncher. Perez is from Venezuela, and Venezuela produces the best fighters out of South America. Could be good. I do know one thing. The matchup with Carey and Horning is always interesting. Let's go.
Paul Horning, Skip Carey back with you at the boxing venue at the Goodwill Games. Another U.S. fighter is about to have at it. Romallis Ellis, his first fight of the tournament, and he'll be meeting a Venezuelan, Jose Luis Perez.
And as is the custom of all the USA boxers here, they come over before the fight starts and hand their opponent a little American flag. It's a nice little gesture, and everybody seems to like it.
And they hope that their opponent doesn't take it and try to poke out their eye before they get back to their side of the ring. These are lightweights, 132-pound limit. Your official, Yuri Frolov from the USSR, and he calls the fighters to the middle of the ring. And here we go. Roosevelt Saunders, the coach of the U.S. team. And we're underway, or will be momentarily.
This is Jose Luis Perez of Venezuela, 22 years old, against Romallis Ellis. He's only 20 from Decatur.
Decatur, GA. Ellis, a southpaw. Scoring with a jab.
He's a little taller. He grew up in Washington, D.C. before moving to Decatur.
He scored with a left to the head.
He's supposed to have a good left jab. I mean, a left hook. But in talking to the coach, Roosevelt Sanders, he says he doesn't stay busy enough for amateur boxing. We've got to get him quicker and throw more punches. And so far, you can see both fighters a little bit tentative.
Ellis, however, has been the aggressor here in the early going. Perez fights off the ropes with a solid right. Left to the body, right to the body. Left hook lands for Ellis.
Boxing team has done pretty good starting off here the first 3 days of boxing. And actually, their record is 10 wins and 6 losses so far, so we haven't had all of the boxers have their first match yet. We've had 23 boxers in this competition.
Ellis has the better of it here, in my humble opinion, in the early going. That left missed by the Venezuelan boxer. Ellis lands with a left and a right to the head.
Winner of the round, 20-point must system. Most of the rounds are scored 20-19. Very seldom is it 20-18.
There's a good right hand to the body by Perez, who appears to be the crowd favorite here, but Ellis bounces back. The southpaw jabbing away. Minute 5 left in round 1. Boy, Perez leaves the body wide open, but Ellis hasn't ventured into that territory much yet. Perez getting a little more aggressive as the round progresses.
Well, just the mere fact that we're here, Skip, it's just a normal attitude. You don't want to have to be in a close fight. You don't want to have it to leave it up to the judges in a close fight. So you really got to pour on the amount of punches and try to get ahead here to make it safe. Because I don't think we're going to get too many breaks, right?
Wouldn't think. 15 seconds left. Ellis with the right hand.
Slow first round. Not much action.
Right hand by Perez. Landed. Left by Perez was on the mark. And the first round is history. We'll be back at the boxing venue right after this. We gave the first round to Romallis Ellis. He's the U.S. fighter in the dark trunks, against Jose Luis Perez of Venezuela.
And I tell you, Skip, not to take anything away from that first round, he's got to get busier. And I'm sure that's what he was told. We were told by the coaches that we've got to keep this kid on his toes and keep throwing punches, and that's the main thing in international boxing. He's been to Australia and Indonesia in tournaments, so he's not inexperienced.
Left hand lands by Ellis, and another. Ellis crowds him into the corner, but Perez fights his way out. Lands a right, does Jose Luis Perez. The jab lands for Ellis. So does another one.
Earlier today, Skip, Michael Moore made an impressive debut for the United States. Won a first-round KO. Knocked him cold right in the first round. That's the first knockout in the first round we've had in the whole tournament.
Ellis still the aggressor here, banging away at Perez. Has him a little hurt on the rope, but Perez spins out of danger.
Scored some points, though. Again, the white part of those gloves, you must. More punches, not the strength of the punch that really counts.
Ellis throwing by far the most punches here.
You got to score with. You can score with 40% of your punches. They say that's a fine average.
Yuri Frolov of the USSR, our referee. There's a good left hand and a good right by Ellis. He's had a much better second round than he did at first. And he rocked him there with a right hand.
Venezuela has not been doing too good in the tournament so far. Most of their boxers have lost. Luis Perez here is 22 years old. He was third at the 1986 Central American Championship.
Ellis with another good left jab.
Well, being aggressive is so important in international boxing. If it's close, you can almost say that a more aggressive fighter is going to get the decision.
Ellis won that exchange, and they're having at it pretty good here. Good right to the body by Perez. 20 seconds left in round 2. It's been a good fight.
And Tuesday, another USA boxer, Arthur Johnson, will fight David Greenman. Now, he is not inexperienced of Venezuela. That's the semis on Tuesday. It should be a great fight.
Round 2 is winding down, and we'll be back with the third and final round right after this. And from the U.S., Romallis Ellis in the dark trunks, Jose Luis Perez from Venezuela in the red boxing shorts. A lot of leather has been exchanged here, but Ellis appears to be holding a commanding lead. He has a height advantage, and he's throwing a little more leather.
And I'm just sitting here thinking when you said that, Skip, that the majority of the fighters who've had that height advantage have gone on to win. I can't think of maybe 2 occasions, more than 2 occasions, that the smaller boxer won in height.
Korolev issues a warning to Perez, caution to Perez. The only guy, I guess the only smaller boxer who won consistently was Rocky Marciano.
That's right.
What was he son? Ellis continues to whack away here. As Paul mentioned briefly before, the velocity of the punch is not taken into consideration. It's the amount of clean blows landed. That would appear to be, to us, to be Ellis, but we are, of course, not impartial. Good left to the body dug in there by Romallis Ellis. Right to the body is scored by Jose Luis Perez. Minute 25 left. Good left hand by Ellis. Right jab got through. Then one is blocked. They exchange blows in the center of the ring. Good flurry there for Jose Luis Perez.
It's a lightweight match, 132, 60 kilograms.
1 minute of boxing left for these two tonight.
Very important for him to stay busy now in this last minute.
Right to the body was landed by Perez, who may be having his best round.
Of course, when the referee says stop, the clock also stops until they resume.
40 seconds remaining. Ellis lands a couple of lefts, takes a right to the body. Perez with a right to the body. Right uppercut for Perez. Third round is, oh, there's a good left for Romallis Ellis.
Another one.
He rocked him there, got him again and again. All with the left hand. This Perez, the little guy's got a lot of courage. He keeps coming.
Now they're starting to roll.
The fight is over. Best round of the 3 for Jose Luis Perez. I don't know about this one. We'll be back to see how the judges view it right after this.
We'll return with
Yuri Frolov. He has nothing to do with judging the fight. There are 5 judges who do that.
3 Eastern Bloc countries, and it's 5-0 for Ellis. Unanimous by the judges, 5-0, as Romallis Ellis, Skip, moves on.
I was a little scared about the way the third round went, but he had piled up enough points in the first 2 to win the bout. And we'll be back from the Olympic boxing venue right after this.
Okay, we are going to go back to our boxing in just a moment, but we have many interesting things happening with the Goodwill Games. We're trying to cover them all for you, the sporting events, the social events, the news events. We have an interesting broadcast event that's happening right here in the building from which we are televising Ostenkino National Television Center on the north side of Moscow, where our TBS production facilities are. You are looking at the Radio Caracas translation and rebroadcast of our English version TBS sports coverage of the Goodwill Games. Now, Radio Caracas also means Television Caracas. And you're looking at Jose Pepe Martin, the producer, Cesar Diaz Salcedo, the commentator, Carlos Gonzalez Ruiz, the commentator, Roberto Rodriguez Ibarra, the commentator, and Shelly Armendariz, the interpreter. Now, they're taking everything we say, even what I'm saying now. This is a tape right now to not play games with you, but anything I say right now, they're interpreting to Caracas Television in Venezuela, and it is being broadcast all 129 hours throughout South America. Let's listen.
88 Grecia, 103 Unión Soviética. Walters también ensaya de 3, muy corto. Vio en el anillo, está por expirar, se escapa libre y la colocó bonita. 93 y ha sonado el pitazo indicando que finaliza. Perdieron por 12. Finaliza el partido. 105 a 93, 12 puntos de diferencia. La Unión Soviética ganó a Grecia. Bien, gracias amigos por acompañarnos en este partido de baloncesto. Naturalmente hay que recordar en este momento la victoria.
That's the first time I've clearly understood what Nick Charles had to say all week long. Only kidding, amigo. That's Nick Charles. That was a tape from the interpretation during our daytime coverage. They are doing that for all 129 hours simultaneously. The commentators and producers, by the way, are sports experts. They're offering commentary and interpretation. It'll be great to hear what they have to say about our showing that tape. It's kind of a media event, a multi-mirrored effect.
We have spent a lot of time with the people from Caracas, and it was interesting. They're sharing our shuttle vans back and forth to the different venues and to the hotel. And I was speaking with one of their staffers the other day who only speaks about 3 words of English. I know about 3 words of Spanish, and we both know about 3 words of Russian. And we're trying to have a conversation with all 3 going at the same time. It's wonderful. We do have news to report to you tonight, as Bob said. As we told you last night, former President Richard Nixon is here in Moscow right now. And earlier tonight, he attended a special reception for the Goodwill Games, hosted by the American ambassador to the Soviet Union, Arthur C. Hartman, and his wife. Former President Nixon is here at the invitation of the Soviet government. And at this reception, he met and spoke with many of our TBS staffers, as well as some of the athletes from the United States who are here for the Games. And he said, and we quote now, "The participants in the Goodwill Games are serving the cause that helps create a foundation for the understanding and respect that is essential between nations." Toward the end of that reception, listen to this, former President Nixon went to the piano and played God Bless America. Everyone in the room, including the Soviet Goodwill Games Organizing Committee Chairman Marat Gromov, joined in the singing of God Bless America, and that's about as goodwill as it gets.
Well, it's a welcome to the former president of the Soviet Union. He's always been interested in international affairs, and it's great that he's here for the Goodwill Games.
Absolutely, and we hope to have him at one of our venues and perhaps get a chance to speak with him while he's here.
We'll look forward to it. Thanks, Marianne. We're about to go back to boxing right now, and we're moving into the welterweight division. Ricky Royal from the United States is going to be fighting Lucas Sindai from Mozambique. Royal is one of those last-minute replacement boxers, and the coach, Roosevelt Sanders, of the U.S. team has never seen Royal fight. So this should be interesting. Let's go back to Skip Carey and Paul Honing.
Okay, we go to yet another fight featuring Lucas Sinoya, who's out of Mozambique, against another of the American substitutes, Ricky Royal of the USA. These are welterweights, 147-pound limit. And Gustav Baumgart is the referee. He's from East Germany.
This is a quarterfinal match, as Skip said. Both of these fighters drew buys in their first match. So let's see what Ricky has. He's also one of the replacement fighters sent over. See what happens.
He started out with a good left and now a good right, and backed Sinoya up. Royal, of course, in the dark blue trunks. Sinoya in the yellow top.
Mozambique fighter has a Soviet coach in his corner over here. The Mozambique coach is taking the assistant's chair, so.
Good right hand by Sinoya. Pretty good left by Royal.
Royal out of Washington, D.C., Skip. Been fighting only 3 years. Works as a gym assistant in Washington.
Good left by Sinoya.
He said, make no mistake about it, I'm aiming for the '88 Olympics.
Well, we wish him well, but he's got to worry about Lucas Sinoya of Mozambique first. Right-hand lead was good by Sinoya, but then he's slapping left hand. He didn't use the white part of the glove, and he gets a caution. Another right by Sinoya. The left got in by Ricky Royal. Royal, the American, with his back to you. You see the USA on his blue uniform. Right hand by Sinoya, pretty good one. Left lands by Sinoya. Good left jab for Royal. Good left by Royal. May have hurt Sinoya, but he comes right back.
Should try to stay on his opponent when he lands one of those good lefts.
Good right lead by Sinoya. Now the left jab. Wild right by Royal. Good left hook by Sinoya. Another one by Sinoya.
I think Sinoya is wide open if he can just measure him right, Skip.
A little bit of an uppercut by the boxer from Mozambique. Good right by Sinoya.
Countered with that right. See, Sinoya was open in the first 2 shots. He missed him, and he got hit. Hey, he got hit again. Maybe the inexperience really showing. He's got him hurt on the rope.
Sinoya all over him. 15 seconds left in the round. You're right. He is wide open, but he's landed.
They like it, see. They love to see some punches thrown. Very quiet till something happens. Then, just like back home, you'll hear it.
Another good right by Sinoya, but the round is over. Has he punched himself up? We'll come back and find out. The U.S. has his hands full here. He's getting clobbered by Lucas Sinoya in round 1. Sinoya, a wild, flailing kind of fighter.
I think there's going to be some hitting in this contest. Both of these fighters leave themselves pretty wide open, and they're wild swingers.
Another right by Sinoya. Left by Sinoya, partially blocked. That time Royal blocked the right hand.
Royal's only
good
had
left.
34 fights, Skip. That's not too much in amateur circles.
Wild, yeah, wild clubbing right hand by Sinoya. A caution against Royal for holding. Left hook lands by Sinoya. Another left. The right, he was fading away, got nothing on it.
So Sinoya's trying to put him down. He senses it.
Somebody's going to go down. Boy, they're wild and woolly, aren't they?
You may have hit on something. If Ricky Royal still has his legs and his arms, I think Sinoya is going to get quite tired. It's still, you know, over a minute and a half to go here in the second round. He's got time if he can come on and Sinoya gets tired.
It's been all Sinoya so far.
They're both getting tired.
A good blow by Royal. A caution to Sinoya. They are punching themselves out here. Good right hand, Sinoya.
Better keep that left hand up.
Royal now backs him into the ropes and scores. Short right hand by Royal. That was a stumble by Sinoya. He's a wild man.
Yeah, he flails, doesn't he?
Royal with a left hand.
This comes in. His punches aren't.
He has nothing on that right hand.
Just cocks it and lets it fly. Wild swinger.
Those are our kind of fighters, wild swingers. 1 minute left. Good right by Royal. He missed the left. Wild right by Sinoya. Nowhere near. Short left jab by Royal. Sinoya misses an uppercut from Brooklyn. Left jab by Royal, who's fighting a little bit better here.
He just gets back on his haunches. He rears back and says, here it comes.
Catch it if you can. What? 38 seconds left, second round. Good right by Royal. Sinoya with a right hand. And a left hook and a right, but his punches don't have the zip they had earlier. Left hook. Sinoya, what did they do wrong this time? A point has been taken away from Sinoya for hitting with other than the white part of the glove. So that's the first time I've seen that in this competition, a point taken away. He lands a left hook. Royal with a left hand. He's still got a shot here. That point could be very big. Good left Sinoya, good right Sinoya. And the second round is over. Boy, this is a wild one. I don't know if anybody will be around at the finish. We'll find out right after this. Between Ricky Royal in the totally blue outfit from the USA and Lucas Sinoya of Mozambique.
Now, if he could win this round big, I think that point taken away from Sinoya in the second round may mean a difference. But look at him. He's still swinging wild and hard.
His coach is desperately signaling Sinoya, forget that flailing box.
Got hit there.
Royal lands a good blow. The first round was all Sinoya. The second round was mostly Sinoya, but he had a point taken away. Left hook by Sinoya. Another point is taken away.
Another point taken away, and this puts Ricky Royal right back into the match, believe me. You'll hear some cat calls around here. It is whistles from the Soviets.
You got to hit with the white part of the glove. And you can see the referee, Gustav Baumgart, shaking his head in disgust.
He's German referee.
He's not angry at the kid, but he's saying the kid doesn't know how we're supposed to do this.
I know who I'd like to have in a bar fight on my side.
Yeah, you take him right away, baby.
Yes, sir.
Look at good, strong right hand by Sinoya. No warning, no caution there. Another right by Sinoya, left by Sinoya. A minute 50 remaining in a very strange bout. The referee says stop, and nobody does. They have to adjust Sinoya's headgear.
Ricky better keep that left hand up. As all for the 3 rounds, that's been his weakness. His left hand has been down, and he's been just hit by that overhand right.
Now we're ready to go again. Right hand by Sinoya. Partially blocked, but still got through. Sinoya looked over at the referee, who wasn't doing anything, as if to say, what do you want this time? A minute 25 left in the bout.
Well, if Royal could have scored some punches here in the 3rd round, I think he may have had a chance. But after this, Sinoya's won every round, really, with the amount of punches he's landed.
It's amazing that he's still standing up, the energy he expends.
Think he's in shape?
Oh, amazing. But he doesn't know how to box at all. He's just a big, strong, unafraid guy. Somebody teaches him the sweet science, boy, it'd be tough.
And he can take a punch, too.
Royal tries to fight back. Again, the referee separates. 48 seconds left.
Oh, Lucas, baby, he's only 20 years old.
Good left hand there by Royal, but it may be too little, too late. Sinoya missed and bounced. For a minute there, it looked like World Championship Wrestling.
Let's see, we got 30 seconds to go here.
Another left by Sinoya.
Okay, when you get 2 points taken away in one of these matches, oh, he's got Sinoya kind of got a little weak-legged there. He got popped a few times too in that exchange, and he's tired.
Yeah, he's hanging on. He lost it all at once, but only 8 seconds left. This is going to be a very interesting verdict. ball, but he's run out of time. Had it only lasted one more round, the U.S. fighter would have been in business.
I think both these fighters are beat.
We'll see who won it when we come back in a moment. Baumgart of East Germany is the referee. He has no part in the decisions. The judges are from Norway, Great Britain, Ireland, Bulgaria, and Denmark. Look at here, Royal wins it 4-1. Royal the fight, 4-1.
And you can hear the calls. The Soviets don't like it, but those 2 points were taken away from Lucas Sinoya. Really hurt him, and Royal moves on.
So Sinoya, you got to feel badly for him. Somebody's got to teach him how to box. He can hit, and he's not afraid. But Royal of the USA advances, and we will continue from the boxing venue directly.
So that was the first time that Roosevelt Sanders, U.S. team boxing coach, had seen Ricky Royal fight in a regular match. And he'll have to be pleased with it because Royal, although he was tagged hard by the boxer from Mozambique, he came back strong. He was a little bit lucky to win, but remember, in international rules, when points are taken away, it's because of judging, and Ricky Royal moves on to the next. We'll be going to a super heavyweight bout in just a moment. Right now, I want to tell you what's coming up on Monday on our coverage of Goodwill games. United States-Canadian basketball in the Men's World Championship, a critical game for both teams. That'll be carried in prime time. Men's gymnastics, that's individual all-around. Yachting from Tallinn Bay on the Baltic Sea with Gary Jobson and Ted Turner. Also on Monday, we'll be covering men's volleyball. The men's volleyball team may be the best team in the world. Soviets, as so often is the case, are right behind. The men's volleyball team opens up play versus Bulgaria. Wrestling continues. Tennis up at Yermala. Team handball also gets underway. Figure skating on Tuesday. Peggy Fleming and Kurt Gowdy will be getting involved with the coverage of that. The figure skating also, the finest skaters from the United States and from the Soviet Union. Men's basketball continues in the second round with USA-Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia very tough. That'll be another very difficult game for the U.S. men's team. Gymnastics will continue, and men's volleyball will be the USA and Japan. Japan, an enigmatic volleyball team right now. Most people thought they'd be ranked in the top 4, but our experts say maybe not. But the USA expected to be the best volleyball team. We're going to go back to the boxing now. We're going to a super heavyweight bout, and that involves 2 Soviet fighters. That's fighters who weigh 201 pounds and over. These 2 fighters are Vyacheslav Yakovlev of the Soviet Union and Valeri Abadzhian. Yakovlev at one time beat Teofilo Stevenson of Cuba. However, Abadzhian hasn't fought and represented his country in international competition since 1982, but they say he's in pretty good shape, and you know Skip Carey and Paul Horning are in great shape. Let's go back to boxing.
Third and final round, and this is anybody's fight because neither guy really has done that much. Vyacheslav Yakovlev against Valeri Abadzhian. Abadzhian in the black headgear. They're both Soviet fighters, both super heavyweights. Otto Kramheller of West Germany is the referee for this one. Virtually every punch is being blocked. The left jab that time got in by Abadzhian.
Skipper was going to say a few more quarterfinal matches beginning Tuesday. Then all the semifinal matches will be over Thursday night, and we will have a lot of final fights next Saturday right here.
A big menu on Tuesday and again on Thursday, and then we get down to cases on Saturday night.
12 divisions on Saturday.
One of these fellows will be in the semifinals. As Paul mentioned earlier, only 5 super heavyweights. Valeri Abadzhian on the attack, but Yakovlev fights him off.
Abadzhian looks a little stronger on the inside, and Yakovlev better with that left jab.
Once again, the referee separates the fighters. Good rally there by Yakovlev. And a good left by Yakovlev. A minute 18 left in this one.
And Skip, I tell you, I wouldn't know who to pick at this point. We've been watching these 2 Soviets now for almost 3 rounds, and both of them as we mentioned before, are in the Army and work out together, I'm sure. And I don't know if they're going after each other at 102%, but I'll tell you one thing, it's very hard to pick. They're pretty even.
Abadzhian, I guess the aggressor, the smaller, shorter man, because he's continually trying to get inside. But then you see Yakovlev with left jabs like that. So it'll be a tough decision for the judges. Good flurry by Yakovlev there. And again, Otto Kramheller, the West German referee, halts the participants. We're in the final minute from Moscow.
Winner of this one will meet our entry, the USA's hope in the super heavyweight class, Gilbert Pierce, in the semis Thursday.
Both fighters giving it all they got as we come to the bell. It's been a lackluster fight, but they've been giving it their best shot. Abadzhian trying to close with a rush. We'll be back with the verdict right after this. Announced by Otto Kramheller, the West German referee, after a lengthy debate here.
Победил Vyacheslav Yakovlev.
And it will be Yakovlev on a 3-2 decision. Goodwill Games action continues right after this.
Thank you, Skip Carey and Paul Horning. And Marianne, we're going to be back with our late night show in a moment, but you're going to have an early assignment tomorrow, so you got an extra hour rest. I hope you sleep well.
Thanks.
Do your best. It's tough sometimes with our bodies on various time schedules. Kurt Gowdy will be joining me here in the studio for our late night report. We'll be along with that shortly. See you later. Thanks for joining us on the Primetime Report from Moscow.